Welcome to Chapter 1, Introduction to Adolescence. We'll be exploring this unique period of human development. Adolescence is a time of intense development, second only to babyhood. During this period, individuals gain 50% of their adult body weight, become capable of reproducing, and experience significant brain transformation. Defining the exact start and end of adolescence is difficult due to individual variations in maturity. Some are sexually mature early, while others are prepubertal during their teens. Adolescence can also vary widely in terms of when intellectual maturity is achieved or when adult responsibilities are taken on. Therefore, it is broadly defined as a time of transition between childhood and adulthood. Adolescence as a concept appeared in the 15th century literature. Before this, during the medieval period, children were viewed as miniature adults and were subject to the same strict discipline. In the 18th century, the French philosopher Jean-Jacques Rousseau offered a more enlightened view, arguing that a child is not the same as an adult and should be freed from adult restrictions until around age 12. Granville Stanley Hall, often called the father of adolescence, established it as a distinct stage of development in 1904. He emphasized peers, physical activity, and character-building experiences for youth. The word adolescence comes from the Latin verb adolescere, meaning to grow up. It is a transitional stage between puberty and legal adulthood, generally associated with the teenage years. Santrock defines adolescence as a developmental period of transition involving biological, cognitive, and social changes. Lewin described the adolescent as being in a, quote, no man's land, caught between childhood and adulthood. While some psychologists place adolescence roughly between the ages of 12 and 18, chronological age is only a rough marker. The period is viewed as a transition for preparing children for adult roles. Developmental psychologists have defined boundaries of adolescence from multiple perspectives. Biologically, it begins at puberty and ends with sexual maturity. Emotionally, it begins with autonomy from parents and ends with attaining a self-realized identity. Cognitively, it starts with emerging logical reasoning and ends with adult logical reasoning. Interpersonally, the shift is from parents to peer orientation, ending with increased intimacy capacity. Socially, it's marked by entry into personal and work roles, ending with adult privileges. Educationally, it begins with secondary school and ends with the completion of higher education. Religiously, it starts with preparation for confirmation and ends with adult status in the religious community. Chronologically, adolescence is roughly between 11/12 and 20 years old. Legally, it begins with juvenile status and ends with legal status. Culturally, it involves training for and completing ceremonial rites of passage. Adolescence includes significant physical growth in height, weight, shoulder and hip width, and muscle strength. Puberty brings hormonal changes, changes in body size, muscle fat composition, and sexual maturation. Psychological characteristics involve changes in emotional, social, cognitive, and moral development. Emotions vary widely, including joy, depression, anxiety, fear, anger, and rebellion. The strength and intensity of adolescent emotions are prominent characteristics, often expressed in an exaggerated form. Frequent mood swings can make their behavior somewhat unpredictable. Socially, adolescents shift dependence from parents to friends and peers, with friendship becoming very important. Gaining recognition in a peer group is a key need, often leading to arguments with elders. Attraction to the opposite sex emerges due to sexual maturity. Adolescents also develop beliefs and opinions about society. Body image, fashion, and glamour become very important concerns. Cognitive characteristics include substantial expansion of thinking and reasoning skills. Adolescents enter Piaget's, quote, formal operation stage, allowing them to understand abstract concepts and think logically. Their own opinions become highly important, leading to arguments. Adolescents question everything, drawing conclusions only when convinced, and they rigidly defend their viewpoints. Morally, adolescents develop a firm ethical sense of right and wrong, based on both parental teaching and personal experience. They question social and moral codes, accepting only those they believe in. Haverhurst outlined 10 developmental tasks. These include achieving mature relations with peers, accepting one's physique, and achieving emotional and economic independence from adults. Other tasks involve selecting an occupation, preparing for marriage and family life, developing intellectual skills for civic competence, achieving socially responsible behavior, and acquiring a set of values. Understanding adolescence involves various theoretical perspectives, as no single theory covers all aspects. Examining several theories provides a more comprehensive view. Stanley Hall, the father of a scientific study of adolescence, advanced the biological maturational theory. This perspective assumes that adolescence begins with biological changes accompanying puberty. Hall believed development is genetically determined and controlled by internal maturational forces, with little room for environmental influence. He saw adolescence as a time of storm and stress, or Sturm and Drang. According to Hall, the emotional life of adolescence oscillates between contradictory tendencies, like humility and conceit, or exuberance and melancholy. He viewed the period as turbulent and conflict-charged. The storm and stress concept raises questions about the degree and causes of stress in adolescence. Current views adopt a mediator effects approach, recognizing that social and cultural environments influence the experience of adolescence. Research methods used to study adolescent development include descriptive research, such as surveys, interviews, and behavior observation. These are simple and collect a lot of data, but cannot determine causal relationships. Cross-sectional designs compare different age groups at a single time. They are quick and easy but mask individual differences, confounding age changes with age differences. Longitudinal designs follow one group over a long period. They observe individual changes over time, but they are expensive and can lose participants. Age changes can be confounded by time of measurement differences. Correlation research determines if variables are related and can make predictions. However, it is important to remember that correlation does not imply causation. Group comparison methods include experiments, quasi-experiments, and causal comparative studies. These methods can help determine causal relationships, although they can be expensive and impractical. An experiment involves random selection and random assignment to treatment and control groups. Independent variables are manipulated, and dependent variables are the measured outcomes. A quasi-experiment involves random assignment of volunteer participants to groups when random selection from the population is not practical. An ex post facto study examines the effect of an independent variable after it has naturally occurred, such as comparing students with authoritative, authoritarian, or permissive parents. The National Longitudinal Study of Adolescent Health, or NLSAH, provided key findings on protecting adolescents from harm. The study analyzed social contexts, influencing risk behaviors and protective factors. It used a cross-sectional analysis of longitudinal data on over 12,000 students. Independent variables included family, school, and individual characteristics. Dependent variables measured emotional distress, violence, substance use, sexual debut, suicidal thoughts, and pregnancy history.